Atlas, the rock-solid warrior. Atlas is a bit of an enigma. He's a frame that not many people experiment with because he's got limited build variety and he takes a lot of investment to get, like, cranked. In order to get, like, a good Atlas, it's very expensive, where you can get a good Wisp with, like, no brain, no investment. So that's why a lot of people don't know about this augment we're going to be discussing today. Now, this isn't necessarily a build guide. We're mostly discussing the Rumbler augment, or one of the Rumbler augments, I should say. So before we get into the augment, we're just going to take a look at Rumblers. Rumblers have health, they do some damage, they'll throw rocks, but the biggest thing is that when you summon them, see, they summon, you can break them and build up rubble. Rubble is his passive, which can lead into another augment, that we're not going to talk about. We're only talking about Titanic Rumblers, but he does have another augment that just summoning these and breaking them can help with. Now, what's noteworthy about these things is that they do not have increased threat priority. As you can see, I ran into this group of enemies. There might be one or two enemies facing them. As you can see, the enemies are getting stunned and they're having their weapons taken away. That's from my pet. I'm specifically using that to more elaborate on the test. So see, barely anything is shooting at the Rumblers. It's mostly on me. The Rumblers have normal threat priority, so stuff will only aim at them if, one, it doesn't have a target, and two, it's like close by. So they'll, in a general mission, they'll usually only have one or two enemies on them. Their enemies aren't going to stop what they're doing to attack them, but that's where the augment comes in. The augment. So now let's look at the augment, right? Let's go over to Titanic Rumbler. So Titanic Rumbler, create a single Rumbler with 300% health, 400 damage, inconsequential as we said, but it does have 40k health. That's a lot, so it's not going to die, which can be good, can be bad, because you can't do that resummon thing. With the augment, you're not resummoning it. It's here to stay until it dies, or the duration runs out. As you can see, it throws rocks, like I said. Now, what makes it special, we're going to see. We're going to come on over here. So there is a bit of a gray area with the augment. So see how some stuff is attacking it? We're going to do the slam, so I can't reactivate it, it just slams. So you see how I did the slam? And you see how now pretty much most of the enemies are attacking him? Instead of just 1 and 2, it's most of the enemies. So the unwritten effect of this ability is that when it's doing the slam, it's taunting. The wiki even alludes to this. The wiki says, and I quote, "This augment will occasionally increase its threat level." So it's unclear if it's raising its threat level just randomly, being summoned, but from my testing, I ascertain that it raises its threat level when it does the slam. Now, the slam radius is affected by range. And again, it's raising its threat priority. The normal Rumblers do not have raised threat priority. They have standard threat priority, which is the same as you, less, I would imagine, at least less than a defense pod. So that this can be used, everyone has always wanted a buffed low-key decoy. This, ladies and gentlemen, is your 2023 low-key decoy. This is it. It's been here all along, well, at least since the augment rework. But so yeah, that is the long and short of it. Enemies will cease to be a problem because of this augment. A lot of people think that this augment's absolute trash, and more health, you get less. I could understand that, right? Like, pretty much the only benefit of this is, like, oh, you can break boxes with it. Like, the slam will break boxes. Like, but because it has an unwritten effect, it actually is much more useful than you would otherwise believe. So the raised threat priority is the main reason you're using this augment, as opposed to any other reason. So now we're gonna take this into a mission real quick, and we're gonna see it from a practical sense. Through the power of the PS5, our loading's gonna be very quick, but we're gonna see what this augment can do in a practical sense. Because yeah, sure, that's fine and dandy. You can show it off in the simulacrum. Oh, let's turn on Steel Path. Never mind that I wasn't in Steel Path. Because without Steel Path, it will kill the enemies. Which is funny, it will actually, like, people always act like, oh yeah, this frame is excellent at star chart. Like, yeah, every fucking frame is excellent at star charts, you idiot. What are you talking about? They're level 30 enemies. You can breathe on them and they'll die. So we gotta crank it up to Steel Path so that we can see this augment to its full power. Now, again, it is affected by range, so you may want to slap range on him. I can't in my particular build, but again, this is not a build video. So again, we do have the dog that's going to CC and remove their guns. It's got a beefy fucking ribbon on it, but it still does no damage despite having a god roll ribbon. Yes, you can get ribbons from him. As you can see, he's throwing rocks. As you can see, he does have a big crowd over there. Trying to get him over here. He is a bit unwieldy, so you got to be careful where you initially cast him. Come on. Because one noteworthy thing about him is that he will actually cause enemies to stop shooting the target and shoot him. See, he knocked him down. And now most of them will be shooting him. So there's not many things in the game that can effectively stop an, like, most things in the game don't change the threat priority, but the act of it knocking them down does. It knocking them down and him having raised threat priority, you can effectively get enemies to stop shooting at defense targets. That's the most useful thing. And to target him. As you can see from my test, it's a little finicky. But you gotta be smart about how you use it. Because see, like, how many abilities in the game will cause enemies to stop shooting the defense target and shoot at him? Not many. I'm sure there's a few, like low-key decoy, but they're absolute trash. This is actually a useful ability. And I would say that it makes it more useful than the ability is normally. Sure, you can't just resummon him, and get a ton of rubble back. But like in the course of a survival mission, I have no trouble at all ever getting max rubble. Especially if you're casting everything. It's really not hard at all to get your rubble stacks without having to spam his 4 over and over. But it is finicky. Like, he's over there doing his thing. He's not, you know, helping out over here. So we gotta resummon him once he dies. Yep. So by no means is it perfect, but this is low-key decoy in 2023. This is the closest thing we will have to having a decoy that doesn't die immediately. But as you can see, he has a whole crowd of enemies over there, and you will frequently find that instead of having 1 or 2 enemies on the believe me, I have used the normal rumblers for years. They will only ever have 1 or 2 enemies on them because of how threat priority works. But with the augment, oh my god, he's going to be taking entire crowds. Plus, it's nice to have the CC from him, but that's not really, you know, you could already CC just by recasting it. But it's good for people who don't have god tier amounts of energy regen like me. Like, I will never run out of energy. Ever. But, so yeah, that's essentially the long and short of it. Not a useless augment, but as augments are notorious for, it has an unwritten effect where it raises the threat priority and taunts enemies. So a lot of people think that this augment's complete trash, unredeemable, and not worth a slot. I think it's his best augment. I know a lot of people use... He has several decent augments, but from my testing, as a longtime Atlas enjoyer, Sigma Chad Stallion, I really think this is the best because it provides a new kind of gameplay mechanic where something else is taking the pressure off you, which, you know, you're invincible when you punch, right? So that's not too big a deal, but it can really help your teammates. It can make Atlas a team player frame instead of just punchy does his own thing. Because, you know, when you see an Excalibur join your team, you're like, oh, great. Like, he's going to be providing nothing of use. Sure, he may be getting kills, but it's of no use to me. Nothing he's doing is benefiting me in any way. But with this Atlas build, you're actually providing a service. You're providing a decoy that the decoy, just by existing, will help the team. It providing CC helps the team, whereas the normal rumblers don't really do anything. Taking 1 or 2 enemies off you, wow. And it does even less against defense targets, because I do believe the defense targets have a raised threat priority, whereas the normal rumblers don't. But when you use the augment, it gets a raised threat priority because it's taunting them. So that is the long and short of this augment. If you'd like to learn more about this augment, go fucking put it on your build, dude. Go try it out for yourself. Now, before we go, let's say hello to our friend over here. Let's teach Misery. Let's see how Misery interacts with our punchy boy, wherever he is. Because I don't think he'll really affect Misery all that much, to be honest. But while we're here, right? When in Rome, as they say. He fucking pussy. It doesn't matter anyway, he's trash. Trash. But yeah, so, actual use to his 4 instead of just an ore generator. If you found this video informative or noteworthy, just sleep on it. That's all you gotta do. Don't tell anybody, it's our little secret. But if you would like to learn more about Atlas builds or Stat 6, let me know. I would be happy to do a build on Atlas, but I can't say there's very much thirst for Atlas knowledge these days, because while it is dirty to just annihilate everything, most people don't find this as an engaging gameplay mechanic, which is why the augment helps a ton. Well, before I continue rambling about the same thing I mentioned 4 times, take care and go have some fucking coffee or something. I don't care.